Good evening. Well, I thought I'd just make a short video of some of my absolute favorite tools when working with plastic. And some tips if you're building a printer, just some tips on how to fit and finish all the pieces. It's pretty important. Like this gear I made, where it's stuck to the printer, there's a little bit of flash in it. It's kind of sharp, and some of my favorite tools to use, just a sharp steak knife out of your kitchen. Just steal one and keep it where you play with your plastic, and you'll use it all the time. Just get in there and you just clean that little notch out. Just go around, take your time. Okay, get it all cleaned out and squared up. Might take you some time, but it's worth it just to make the parts fit perfect. Another good thing, that tip cleans these edges up really nice. So like a threaded rod will fit perfectly. See, it just fits so nice. Okay. Another good tool, chainsaw file. I use these all the time. You know, you get in here and just clean that flash up around all the pieces. A couple different sizes of files. You know, round files, real handy. You'll use them all the time. This file here works really good, like on bigger pieces. Like you just clean up the edge, square things up, make them look good. Oftentimes you gotta clean like a little blob off or something. File like this works really nice. Even the round parts, the part I usually use, because it, I don't know, just seems to dig at the plastic more. Let's see. Super glue. Oh, I love super glue. One of my favorite tools. Pair of tweezers. Just some metal tweezers. Wire cutters. They work good for snipping pieces of plastic. Yeah. So get yourself some of those out. Sandpaper. I use sandpaper a lot. You want to clean up the parts. Maybe this gear's gonna mesh with another one, so you just take it, sand the hell out of it, make it real smooth, and the parts will work much better. So keep yourself some sandpaper. This is 400, and it's about right. I like that. It does change the color of the plastic a little, but it's not usually, well, it's not a big deal to me. I'm not that picky about colors and stuff, because this is like a perfect color to paint. That's how I look at it. Paint it the color you want. The Fusion plastic paints that they make now, just designed to, I don't know, soak into plastic, I guess is what they do. They kind of chemically bond. They work really good. D-Resto probably works fine, but you'll get little chips, and that can be bad. If a little chip of paint stuck to your filament and rode into the extruder, you'd plug it up. Some of the important things when you're building a printer, like this is the drill rod, just a little short chunk I have. What I like to do, cut the pieces to length, chuck them up in a lathe, and I've only seen them ever come just slightly too large. I don't think I've sanded this one yet, but say it's too large to fit the bearing really well. Like this is still a little tight. Some people say to just throw the bearing on there, let it crunch and wear itself in, and I don't like to do that. It just turns your bearings to shit. Chuck it up in the lathe, take some sandpaper, and just sand a few inches at a time. Get the bearing to fit just perfect, and then you can leave the bearing on there, it'll ride, and just keep sanding, and you'll feel the bearing, and you'll end up with a perfectly rolling bearing, and really nice sized. You know, it's pretty important. I think, though, I've seen them get real tight and crunchy, and I think it just destroys the balls inside the linear bearings. Another thing, like this hasn't been sized yet, so this 8mm bearing just won't fit it. Another thing you can do, chuck it up in the lathe and sand maybe a 1/4 inch. Just sand it until this fits perfect, and maybe it has a little shoulder, so it won't ride in any further. That works really good. But the better you match things like this and pay attention to these little details, the better your machine's gonna be. You can pretty much guarantee that any part that comes off the bed is gonna have a little flashing, or it's gonna be just not perfect. So just take your hand tools and take some time. Fit and finish is pretty important. Making things work well. Another thing, if you have support, see there's a lot of support on this. Just take your knife and you can dig that crap out, and it goes all the way through. I'm not going to clean this piece up, but when you find a hole, oftentimes it's going to be, the plastic will have shrunk from the size that the SketchUp model says it's 8mm, but maybe it's 7.6 or something, because plastic will shrink quite a bit. I just find the closest drill, maybe like say a threaded rod. This is a piece that a threaded rod goes in, and it's pretty tight. I just take the closest undersized drill and drill it out. And you might do that a couple times. You can leave the drill in there and kind of wiggle it around if you need to, just to get it to fit real nice and snug. If it's too tight, what you'll end up doing is cracking it, and that's a pain in the ass. Then you got to crack it all the way, glue it, put it, hold it in a vise for a while until the glue sets, and then start all over. All the parts, they can all be fixed. A little super glue and some time, but it's just easier if you drill the holes and make sure they're perfect fit. The same with the bearings. I usually put the bearings in, get them started, maybe stick a screwdriver in here and widen it while I'm forcing the bearing in, and then use a vise. And I haven't cracked one in a long time doing it that way. Let's see, some tools you don't want to use on this kind of plastic, on ABS, or, well, I don't think it works on PLA either, but some tools that I'd keep away from trying. High-speed tools like disc grinders and disc sanders, belt sanders, real high-speed ones, don't work. They just screw things up. Disc sanders and stuff, they work great for the steel. You can put a nice chamfered edge on a drill rod just by holding it up there real quick. That works fine, but keep it away from plastic. Dremel, I wouldn't use a Dremel. They're just too high speed. The plastic's kind of grabby, and it'll grab the bit or the drill or whatever part you're using and just make you not accurate, and you'll ruin a part really fast. Plus they're so high speed they end up melting the plastic instead of cutting it or drilling it. It just ends up melting. It's not good. So stay away from high speed tools. Just take your time. A good steak knife. Another good tool is a razor blade. If you have just the blade and you're very careful, you can do a lot of cleanup with just a razor blade. Works good for getting in gears, cleaning out the little teeth on the gears. Let's see. Yeah, just take your time. Every part's unique and has to be finished. They don't normally come off super perfect off the printer, so just take your time sanding and fitting and polishing, like you can take and polish the drill rod, whatever rod you buy, and all the time you spend doing that just makes a huge difference. So much nicer the way it ends up, and pretty important. But stay away from high-speed tools. Do a lot of sanding. You don't always have to worry about the colors. If you want to change it, change it. Use good paint that's made for plastic. I think that's pretty good advice, because you wouldn't want the plastic to chip off this, or you wouldn't want the paint to chip off eventually. Follow the filament into the extruder and clog things up. So just use a really good plastic paint, and